Okay, so it feels like summer, right? It's getting hot outside. I was gonna wear shorts today, but I didn't have any clean, so I wasn't prepared for summer. Today, we're going to talk about some things a little differently. We're gonna study a little bit today. Is that all right? Can we study? I'm gonna try to teach you something. I learned a Greek word this week, and I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to say it now, because if I don't get it now, I'm not gonna try to say it again. The word is, and I wrote it down like in my terms, anakephilelusesta. That's the word. It's Greek. Anakephilelusesta. And I hope I'm saying that right. And if anybody in here is like a Greek-like person and I'm saying it wrong, please feel free to stand up and say it properly. Because I'm not great at this. But there's a couple of parts in the Bible, and there's words that get translated, and we have terms for these words, but I don't think we understand the importance of some of these words. And so that's what I want to do is I want to break this down today and hopefully give you some hope and some encouragement, and because if we would live our life as I think a certain way, I'm not talking about good or bad, but I'm talking about if we would live as though God actually has the power to change something, I think we would live a little bit differently. And so that's what I want to try to get to today. So it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm glad to see you guys here. So it's going to be, and if you're a first-time guest, I encourage talk back. Like, now let's stand up and start yelling or anything like that. Let's be, but like, don't be afraid to chime in. So, just so you know. So what we're going to do, we're going to be in Ephesians, and I didn't give the computer people the verses or anything today. I'm still not good at my job yet, so, whatever. But we're going to be in Ephesians 1. We're going to start in verse 9. We're just going to break down two verses, 9 and 10. And but first I'm going to ask you something. Have you ever I'm trying to think of an example off my head. Like last week I told a story. I don't know if anybody was here last week, but I told this story about how I ran out of gas in the desert, had to walk 2 miles, and it was 119 degrees. I was carrying 2 5-gallon gas cans. I thought my shoulders were going to fall off, trying to carry these things. I had to walk 2 miles to the gas station, 2 miles back, and my brother was there, and he was, I couldn't take my eyes off of him because I was afraid he was going to kill me, and all that. But you have a similar story. The story's funny now. The story has a lot to do with how, I make sure I don't get below a quarter of a tank ever. It doesn't matter what vehicle I'm driving. You have a story, maybe it's that camping trip you went on where it rained the whole time, you had a flat tire, got stuck in the mud, the raccoon stole all your food, or the bears came, whatever, and this, the person you were with was sick the whole time, and so, you see what I'm saying? But, in the moment, it was miserable. But now, when you retell the story, those are very important details, and the details have a lot to do with the way you present the story, right? The way and sometimes those worst details are what we actually key in on to make our story more, I don't know the big word for that, more better. That's how I say it. You see what I mean? We tell the story, we add in these specific details, for a reason, to make our story have that punch, or to be more funny, or to get more laughs, or you know what I mean, so people can feel us a little bit more. You see what I'm saying? All right, so, and there's this, yesterday I had a good time reading the Bible and picking some things out and finding some things. And I'll be honest with you, I've had a hard time with that lately. So yesterday I felt like I broke some new ground, I finally got some new stuff, new revelation. So it was exciting. So anyway, we're going to be in Ephesians, and I'm going to use my phone. Don't judge me. But I'm going to use my phone because I don't have an actual NIV Bible. If you have NIV, that's what I'm going to read out of. And then I'm going to read you some other translations too. And this is, excuse me, I said, verse 9. And I always found it interesting that this verse actually starts in the middle of a sentence. I don't know if anybody else has ever seen that or wondered like why we number the verses in the middle of a sentence sometimes. But anyway, it says, He made known to us the mystery of His will according to His good pleasure, which He purposed in Christ to be put into effect when the times reached their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under Christ. Okay, I'm going to read it again. He made known to us the mystery of His will according to His good pleasure, which He purposed in Christ to be put into effect when the times reach their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under Christ. So all things. So let me all things? Really? All things? All things? That's my question. All things? Like all things? Like all the things? All things. Okay. Golly, I don't have okay, I looked up this part. In all things, the Greek word for all things is pas. P-A-S, pas. And so the literal translation for this word pas is all things. Like that's the translation. It translates directly all things. Like that's it. So all things, so what? So God is doing something in Christ, okay, from this verse. So God is doing something involving all things. What's He doing? And why? Okay, so He made known to us the mystery of His will according to His good pleasure. So all things. I keep keying in on all things, and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. This is tough because it brings God good pleasure. So God enjoys whatever it is, and whatever that is, it is bringing unity. It's bringing unity to all things in heaven and on earth. Am I confusing you? So God enjoys bringing all things back into a unity under Christ. Like, you see what He's saying, like okay, I can't get off of this all things. This word has drove me crazy all week. All things. And I'm trying so hard not to get ahead of myself. Okay. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. So this bring unity part, this bring unity word, and this is, I believe this is important because I think we read words sometimes and we just pass through them, and I don't think we understand the importance of these words. Like, I have no doubt that when the writers were writing, that they were writing with intention. And they were guided by the Spirit, and they were writing, and their hearts were fulfilling their purpose. Their hearts were full. Their hearts were expressing that love and to whoever it was they're writing to. And I think the words that they chose, I don't think that they wrote, like, we misuse words. Do you realize that? Like, we use words terribly because we love pizza, but we also love our wife. Or kids or whatever. Like, you see what I mean? Like, we should be using a different word. Like, I like pizza, but I don't love pizza. But I love my kids, or I love my spouse. You know, I mean, like, You see what I mean? Like the way we use words just kind of, some words don't mean anything sometimes, and sometimes they do, and that's what happens when we start running our mouth sometimes, and things get twisted around, and the next thing you know, everybody's at war with each other because of technicality of someone used a word wrong. That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. So, I don't know what happened. Earlier today we were practicing, and my mouth all of a sudden got extremely dry. So, I don't know, I guess the enemy doesn't want you to hear this today, but he doesn't have a choice. All right, so I want to back up. This word that I said, can you say it back to me? You remember it? You remember it? No, the other one. Yeah, okay. This word, okay. I'm going to attempt to say it again. Anakapheleuthista. That's the word. Okay, and it means the summing up. Okay, the sum up. And that word, I'm losing my place here. Excuse me. To bring unity to all things. That phrase right there. There's a word that's used, and it means to sum up. It's actually it's an ancient mathematical term, and it means to sum up or to gather up or to bring to a head. And when I read that, okay, the first part of that word is Anna. Okay, Anna means again. So if you want to write that down, Anna means again. And then the second part of that word, I'm not going to attempt to say just the second part because I could barely, anyway. That the K part of that word means head, means the head. So again, like when you put these words together, it literally means to bring to a head or to bring to one, bring under one, to sum up. Am I losing you? Do you see what I'm saying? Like this word actually means to bring under one. So he's saying and this is the only time that this word is used in the Bible. This anakapheleuthista. There's a very similar one that's used a few times, but this specific one, it's the only time it's actually used in this phrase. And Paul used it, and I think he was using it because he was very, very, he wanted to make sure you understood. He meant all things is coming together under Christ. That God is bringing all things under one unity, under one head. He wanted us to make sure, he wanted the reader to understand this very clearly. And so that's the whole message. We're done. No, I'm fine. That's the whole point of this message. That's the whole thing. He is like, because sometimes you just search some words and start finding out. Like, I don't have any doubt that this is very intentional. Does that register? Does that make sense? Like when he wrote this, he wanted you to understand that all things. But what about my broken heart? All things. What about my relationships? All things. What about my addictions? All things. What about racism? All things. Your families, your friendships, your whatever it is, God is bringing all things under one head, and that's Jesus. Do you understand? Like everything is coming together for one thing. All things are coming under. God is, okay, this is what I gathered from this. You know the story, sometimes when you're in the story, it's miserable, but later when you look back, you realize, like, man, I learned a ton. Like, I have a perfect example. When we went on the Extreme Tour, we were all excited. It was all great. And then when we went it was one of the most miserable experiences I ever dealt with. Ever. Like, I've never seen so many Christians want to kill each other. Like, it was crazy. And then this one guy, like, he was just ticking everybody off. And so then, you know what happened? We all ended up breaking into our own little groups, and we only hung out with certain people, and then this other certain people only hung out with them. And then we talked bad about this person, and I'm sure they were talking bad about someone in our group or whatever. And then, but you know what? I'm better friends with some of those people now than what I was when we were on that tour, when we did that. Like, when I look back now, like, I realize, like, I still keep in contact with some of the other bands and some of the other people, like, and there's times that I actually miss those guys. Like, I actually miss some of the experiences we had. I remember I don't remember where we were, somewhere close to Houston, and it was like 500 degrees outside and 1,000% humidity, and we were trying to set up and everything. And I mean, it was terrible. It was miserable. And then when it's hot, tempers are short, and it just was like this ongoing thing of just like, when is this going to end? But now I look back, and there is a ton of stuff I learned in that experience. There's a ton of stuff I learned about myself. There's a lot of things that I learned about other people. Some of it I wish I didn't know. You can't unlearn something sometimes. It's hard. You get to know your friends a little more. And so this is what I gathered. This is what I gather from this whole thing, is that this is one of another. Man, I'm glad we don't have any English teachers in here. Oh goodness. One of the golly, I almost said it again. One of the words that's also used to translate this, or is where was it at? Is to retell. That's also like another definition of this word, to retell. Can your story be retold? See, I think that's what God's doing. See, we have this story. Like, I have had a story, and then after we get to a certain point, then that story can be retold, and it's a lot different. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can live a story in one perspective, and then when you retell it from a different perspective. It's not so bad now. I thought I was going to die when I was walking in the desert with 2 5-gallon, and I thought my shoulders were going to fall off. I thought that might be my last day on earth. This is how it's going to go down. Really? But I made it. I thought my divorce was going to kill me. But I made it. It's not really a funny story, but I learned about myself. I learned a lot of things about what was inside. Here, I'll tell you this. I was going to kill somebody. Yeah, your pastor just said that. I was going to kill somebody. And I almost didn't care who it was. I was to the point, I almost didn't care who I killed first. I was ready to kill somebody. But God wanted to redeem somebody. See, I wasn't the only one in the situation. There was other people involved in the situation. God didn't want to kill anybody. He wanted to redeem them. He wanted to redeem not just one, but all of us that were involved. He wanted to restore. He wanted to retell. He wanted to bring all those things back into a one unity under God, under one head, Christ. See, we all have a situation. We all know it. You don't have to tell yours. It's okay. We all have it. We all have that something that we live through And now we're living through something else, and it feels like we're going to die now, maybe. I don't know. Like, how much longer is this service going to last? I know what you're thinking. No, I'm just playing.
All things.
All things. Yeah, all things. See, there you go. There we go. Somebody's awake. All things. So all things. So why does sometimes it feel like it's not? Why? Here's the last. This is my last point. This may be a short week. Short day this week. Short week. Why does it feel like? Why does sometimes it feel like God's not in it? Why does sometimes it feel like we are going to die? We're not going to make it. It seems like a mess. It seems miserable. It seems like nobody has a clue. Everybody's against me. Everything's falling apart. Why does it seem like that when He's telling us directly that God is bringing all things together under one? Why does it feel like that? Yes. Huh? Yeah. Take our eyes off Him. We don't focus. We have this underlying thing inside of us of unbelief that we deny it. We think we don't have it, but we do, because we want to be. Because what happens when something doesn't go our way? Huh? We get mad, or we give up, or we get frustrated, or we get tired, or we take things in our own hands. See, we can't take those things that are falling apart, we can't take our hands off of it long enough to actually give it to God, to let Him have control to restore it or fix it. See, we want to have our hand on it, but we want God to change it. But we don't want to let go. See, I feel like there's a pride, there's an insecurity, there's a something inside that deep down, I think if it's not, it's related to this spot of unbelief that's still inside. We don't fully believe that God can change it, or we would just let Him have it, and you know what? If this is what you want, God, this is what you want. Show me the way. What can I do? What can I do for you to make this situation better? But we don't pray like that. We don't talk like that. We don't think like that. No, you know what? Oh yeah, you know what? They're not. Oh yeah, I'm going to go do this, and I'll show them, and I'll do this, and it'll fix that. And then what we do is we leave this trail of destruction and disaster that got us nowhere. Oh yeah, she's going to keep going over there? You watch. You know what I'm saying, right? Some of the women, if he stops at that bar one more time, I'm going to cut him. I don't want to get too, but I'm just trying, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just talk on real terms here. We don't have to be churchy about it, but we know, I do the same thing. I'm at work. If my phone rings one more time, I swear to you, I'm going to lose my mind. You know what I'm saying? Why? It's even the littlest things. So when something big happens, then what happens? We really lose it. But why? Because deep down, somewhere inside of us, we still have that unbelief. There's still a hole there. There's still something. We say we're changed. We say we're transformed. We say we're Christians, but we don't fully believe, or else we wouldn't live. But see, I don't want to live like that, even though sometimes I do, and I don't catch myself until I'm in it. But I gotta change the way I think, and I've got to keep seeking God, and I got to keep pushing after Him, and like I don't want to live that way. Because I think if we actually lived the way we say we live, it wouldn't look this way. Things wouldn't look the way they do. And then we'd take our hands off of it and actually give God some control, and things might come together a little bit quicker. Maybe a little bit better. So there's so much that if we would just let go of and let God actually have some control, actually give it up, actually give it away. One time I was so desperate, I'll just tell you the story. When after I got divorced, I was still stuck in Louisiana, and if you're from Louisiana, I don't mean to bash your state, but golly, that was the most miserable place I've ever lived. Yeah, it always smelled bad there. That was crazy, huh? Anyway, I was working for Coke in Louisiana, and I was so desperate to move back to Texas, but I couldn't find a job, and I ran into an old buddy, and he worked at Pepsi, and he ended up getting me a job at Pepsi, and his name is Jeremy, and he's a great guy. He was a great boss, but the rest of that company was a disaster. It was the most unorganized place I ever worked, and I was so desperate that I took the first thing that came about. I didn't seek God out in it at all. I just seen the job pop up, and I went for it, and I got there, and I was miserable. I lasted like 2 months, and I finally was like, I'm out. I'll start over. I just have to live with mom and dad for a little while or something. I don't know, because I can't do this anymore. And I had to learn the hard way, like, if I would have seeked out God first, that maybe things might not have I might not have went down that. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? Like, see, God's already working for us, okay? So we don't have to do as much work as we think we've got to do. So the whole point of this is Paul is being very direct. That, okay, God enjoys bringing everything under one. Like it says, for his good pleasure. You see, like he wants to bring everything under one head, under Christ. He wants to bring all of it into one unity. Does that make sense? He wants to. So he's working for us. So he's for you. Right? So if he's for you, then a lot of times it's not anybody else against us, it's us against us. We're making it harder. So that's my challenge. I guess I'll leave you with the challenge each week. I don't know, does anybody even challenge themselves? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't do spiders very well either, so somebody else is going to have to come kill that. Oh, you killed it with your hand. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Wow. Nothing like good old distractions. So if God is really working for us, why do we try to take so much into our own hands? We don't want to be that guy. So we try to take it in our own hands and we try to fix it. Or we just say, you know what? I give up. And then we still don't pursue God. We don't say, okay, God, take it and show me what to do. Show me how to live. Show me. We just say, screw it all and just give up, throw our hands up and walk away. and that's it. And we give up, and we go right back to the life that was a disaster to begin with, that God pulled us out of. And so then the work starts over. It gets even harder, and then we got to go through this whole cycle again of living this misery to get out of it again. Can we just be real for a little bit? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to beat you down. Look, I'm just as guilty. I'm just as guilty. But we can, if we seek and if we just slow down and stop and think. Like, what is God doing really? He's bringing all things together under one unity. So that's my challenge, is to let God have what He's already trying to fix, what He's already bringing under Jesus. And then what if we prayed like this? What if we stopped praying, God, do this for me, and do that for me, and do this for me, and do that for me. And we actually started praying, God, what can I do for you? What can I do today? What can I do this week to further your kingdom? What can I do to get closer, to get more in depth into your will? When you go to work, do you go and you tell your supervisor what to do? Hey, I need you to do this for me, and I need you to do that, and I need you to do this, and I need this done. No. Yeah. I mean, you can do that, but they may not like you very much. It's funny because there's people that actually do that. Golly. I don't ever want to be in a management position again. But the guy that comes to you, hey, what can I do? Hey, I've even got some extra time. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to help? What can I do to get a little bit closer? What can I do? What if we prayed like that? What can I do for you today, God? Where do you want me to go? Where can I be the vessel for you? What area can I serve you best in, or serve you better in? See, God's already doing all the hard work. He's already working for us. We even sing the songs. We even sing it in these songs. Like, what is it? Somebody said, well, then who can be against us? If God is for us, then who can be against us? But somehow, deep down, we still try to take it into our own hands. So let's let go. Let it go. I'm not going to know. That's terrible. That's too old. Golly. Oh, man. That's what my kids would have done had I said that, you know. So that's it. That's all I've got for you today. I actually beat the timer today. We were racing. I'm just playing. So where can you let go? What is it that you need to let go of? That's the thing. Find that spot in your life, that place in your heart where you're still trying to hold on. You're still trying to take things in your own hands and do things your own way. Let's find that. Let's find it and let's address it. And let's let it go. And then ask God, where can I go? What can I do now? Where can I serve you better? And how can I serve you more? More better. More better. That's it. All right, I'm going to pray for you. We'll get out of here. And thanks for coming today. Hope you learned something. If not, better luck next time. I'm just playing. I'm really glad you guys are here. I love it. I love seeing you guys. I love getting to share what God shows me. So, anyway.